Hello students, welcome to the classroom. Your teacher Tim here, and today I'm going to tell you the basics of writing a good melody. But before we dive into that, we got to talk about what a melody is. A melody is usually the top line of a piece, and it's the most memorable part. And melodies, by the way, are read from left to right. So let's take a look. So an example would be Jingle Bells. So that's the melody. The harmony is the background chords to it, which kind of fills out the overall sound. But today we're just talking about the melody. Another example of a melody is Fur Elise. So this is the melody to Fur Elise. So I'm going to tell you what some great things or some things that you want to be looking out for when writing a melody. Okay, I want to tell you that melodies have a combination of steps, skips, and leaps. They will have a lot of steps, fewer skips, and a very few leaps. So let me show you exactly what I mean by that to clarify. So let's take a look. So mostly steps. So stepping is when you are going from note to note up and down on the piano. And you're not skipping, which brings me to the next thing. Skipping is skipping over every other note like that. A leap is larger than that. Leaps can be really, really large. They can just be a little bit larger than a skip. And if you know your intervals, steps are seconds. Skips are thirds, meaning they're 3 notes apart, and a leap is a fourth or larger. All right, let's talk a little bit more about this. Okay, so melodies have phrasing. Like when speaking, melodies have phrases which help the listener identify complete ideas in the piece. So bringing back the example of, Jingle Bells, there's a first part of the phrase or first part of the melody that kind of sets it up. And then this is like the answer to that. And then what they commonly do is you'll hear that first part repeated again. So melodies have a lot of familiarity, and that is created by the phrasing. But then at the very end it changes, right? To sound a little bit more conclusive. So when you're writing melodies, also think about the phrasing that you are going for. You're going to be repeating ideas. It's not just going to be different all of the time. Okay, I want you to take a look at this page. It's openmusictheory.com/period. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description. Remind me if I don't once the lesson is posted. So here we have the period, which is made up of 2 phrases, an antecedent phrase, which kind of sets it up, and a consequent phrase. So let's take a look. I'm not going to get into like the really, really nitty gritty because I really am just trying to get you the basic concepts of how these work. So here is your antecedent phrase from Haydn Piano Trio in C major. And then it starts over again. So this was like the beginning, almost the beginning of Jingle Bells, this part. And then this is the part that kind of answers down to it. And then it repeats again. Okay, now we're going to throw in the consequent phrase into it. So now that we have a complete idea, as you can see from this page right away, let me see if I can get both the piano and that up there. As you can see right away that the beginning here and it starts again. And just see how at the very end it changed just a little bit. So you have this like 2.5 measure setup where you have this. And and then like a little bit of a rest. See how that kind of has a rising, not only sound, but you can actually see the notes going up that way. The answer to that is that it kind of comes back down the other way. It has some contrast to it. So you're setting up an idea, you're contrasting that. You're setting up the same idea again, the exact same idea. You're going to come down. It's almost the same, but changes at the very end. So that's really what I want you to get out of it instead of this antecedent consequent thing. I mean, it's the same thing, but just notice that you're setting it up an idea. You have for about 2 measures. You have a contrasting idea for 2 measures. Then you're setting up the same idea and then changing it at the very end. Okay, so take a look at that. You can read more about it if you are more interested in this phrasing stuff. But you can't write a good melody without thinking about phrasing, which we're going to write our own melody here in a few minutes to kind of put all these ideas together. Okay, I got some tips for you if you're a beginner. So you want to start and end the melody on a chord tone, which is like so whatever chord you have in the bass. So say we're in C major and you're playing a C major chord. If you want to play it safe, start the melody on one of those 3 notes. Now you can start it on a different note if you know what you're doing, but in the beginning when you're just starting out, stick to these 3. Kind of like that. So you're using the notes of the chord below. That's what I call playing it safe. And when you're a beginner, that's what you want to do. You don't want to get too creative right away. Music to me and music theory and composition and pretty much everything is all about learning the rules first. And then once you learn more about how you can break those rules, then you can get a little bit more creative. But if you get too creative, right off the bat, it's not going to sound very good. One thing I want to kind of go back to really quick is the use of steps, skips, and leaps. So remember, stepping is going up and down. Stepping is playing it safe with a melody. Skipping, you're starting to get a little bit more interest in there. So really, skips and leaps are to add interest into the music, because if you just play steps, it sounds okay, right? But it's just kind of meandering. It really doesn't have like a... or something like that. So it really just kind of helps you add more interest into it. If you have nothing but leaps, you'll get what I call robot music, where it just sounds like a bunch of bleeps and bloops. And then if you have nothing but skips, it sounds okay, but again, it lacks some direction to it. So I'll tell you what, let us write a melody together so we can put all these ideas and you can actually see how it's done. So let's take a look at what we got. Okay, let's see, we're in the key of C major, and I'm just going to write out the chords we have on the bottom. And if you don't know much about chord progressions, we're going to kind of skip over that for right now. Actually, we covered it in a previous lesson. Make sure you check out the other 2 composition lessons I put out. I'm going to make sure to put these in a playlist all together so you can watch them, lesson 1, lesson 2, and lesson 3. All right, so this is, we're going to do the chords of C major, F major. I know it looks funny, but it is in inversion. And then we're just doing a standard 1-4-5 progression here. Okay, so here we are on the first measure, and let's try to put these ideas together. So, what chord do we have on the bottom? Well, it's a C major chord made up of the notes C, E, and G, which you can see on the piano. Oops, let me move this a little bit. Which you can see on the piano right there. So, what was one of the tips I gave you? What note should we start with, do you think? Well, how about a C, E, or G, right? We're going to play it safe. It's our first time doing this. And how about we start on a C? C is actually the safest of those 3, by the way. And then remember what I said is that you want to use mostly steps, fewer skips, and even fewer leaps. So let's start out with a few steps, shall we, going upwards. Okay, so far we have this. And one thing you want to do is, if you're familiar with playing on the piano, you want to play, or you can even put it in your composition software, is to play the melody back, or what you have so far back. Doesn't sound too bad so far. I think we're going to add a little bit more intrigue here into the next measure. So how about we have an F major chord now made up of the notes F, A, or C. So the beginning of this measure, we're going to stick to the chord tone just to make it easy on ourselves. And you know, we just had a bunch of steps. Let's add in a leap here to a chord tone there. And let's see here. So we want... And you know what? Let us... I kind of want to step down from that and then have a little bit of a skip here. So we've set up the first two measures of our melody. Yeah, it sounds all right. Now, what should we do? Remember how we set up, like how Jingle Bells is set up? So these are the first two measures, right? And then what happens after that? Try to remember. Well, something that has to contrast that idea. So far we have notes stepping up, we have leaps, and then a little bit of a skip there at the end. So maybe, and we're actually going mostly up and then coming back down. How about we start this next one high. We'll start it, instead of steps, we'll start it with like a skip or something like that. So we're making contrast. You know, if the notes are going up, the contrast, they should go down. I mean, you can play around with this. It's not 100%. Like I said, this lesson is really for beginners. This is writing your first melody. There's a lot more to writing melodies than this, trust me. Okay, so let's, you know, I said maybe we'd skip down a little bit. Okay, let's see how this sounds. Okay, and I'm going to play the whole thing just to see what we got. Let me get the whole thing in here so you can see it. There you go. It's not sounding too bad. And then let's finish coming down, right? Because the whole melody in the beginning was mostly going up. So let's come down. We're in a new measure. What should we do? Should we experiment around and get really crazy? Well, not yet, right? Maybe if we were writing our second or third melody. Let's go down and let's just pick a chord tone, either a C, E, or G. Play it safe, as I like to say, and then maybe step down from there. One thing I like to do at the end of a phrase, or the end of the first part of the phrase, is to put a half note, or maybe like some kind of rest. That kind of like, rather than just having all straight quarter notes, which would kind of sound like a run-on sentence almost. So when you speak sentences, right, there are periods, there are longer words, that kind of thing, to kind of help with inflection. At the end of a two-measure idea, I always like to put a half note, or just something that contrasts it a little bit. So as you see, I have a half note here and a half note right there. You can also put like a little rest there, so long as there's just some kind of breath in the idea. So this is what we have so far. This is our complete idea of what we have. Oops, let me get it to where everybody can see. Yeah, not bad, right? And then what are we going to do? We're only halfway there. We still have an entire 4 measures to go. Well, let's take a look here. So remember what we talked about before. Remember the page we were looking at earlier, where we had this phrase going on, the antecedent consequent phrase, where we set up the first phrase, so we're through the antecedent. So it rises, and then it has like a contrast to it, and then it starts this same thing again. So when we start our next two measures, we're literally going to do the same thing we did before. We're even going to do the same thing we did before leading into the end, except we're going to change it a little bit to make it seem a little bit more final. Okay, so here we go. So in the technology world, we have this lovely thing called copy and paste. I'm sure you are aware of it. So I'm just literally going to copy and paste that, right? And these two measures, I don't need to touch those. And I'm probably not going to touch the first two of this phrase coming down here. What I'm probably going to do, though, is I'm probably going to change these two notes a little bit and then the rest of them as well. Okay, let me think about what we should do. Again, experimentation is key a lot of times. You know what? I want to change this. I'm actually going to change the first phrase. Sorry if this creates any confusion. I want to put a G right here, only because when you end a phrase on the fifth note of the chord, so see how we have a C major chord. Let me show you what I'm working with the piano here. So I have a C major chord down here, and if it's the first phrase, right? If you end on the first note of the chord, it sounds too final. You want to do that at the end. But if I ended on a fifth or even a third, but the fifth note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's called the fifth of the chord, it has more of a feeling that it should continue going. If I do this, it sounds final. So we're actually going to do that at the very end, which we already have there. So I am going to change up this measure a little bit. You know, maybe we'll like even go for something a little different. We'll even maybe go up first, and then maybe do like a little bit of a skip down, and then have that final sound there. So let me play through the entire thing. Let me zoom it. I know it's going to be kind of far out for all of you to see, but I need to see it to play it all the way through. So I'm going to play it through, and I'm going to see what we got. So not bad, I would say. It's not the most interesting melody I've ever heard in my life, but that wasn't the goal today. We wanted to find something that sounded really, really good. Say, and actually I kind of took a risk here by doing a little bit of a leap here from the D to the E, or the E to the B rather. And the E doesn't really belong in the chord. But it worked out. Say the note didn't work out. Say it sounded terrible. Well, I put it for you. If something doesn't sound right, let me get us back here. Hold on a minute. If something doesn't sound right, move notes to chord tones. So if that E didn't sound right, I would just move it to a G, B, or D, whatever the chord is below. Remember, mostly play it safe. You can be a little bit artistic if you want, especially after you have the melody written and you know it sounds good. Then you can experiment around, see what sounds good, but stick to the basic rules first. Do not try to be a hero right off the bat. Do not try to be Mozart right off the bat. Just get the basics down, which is setting up, first of all, properly using chord tones, using the steps, mostly steps, fewer skips, even fewer leaps, to create a decent melody. Remember, you want to set up an idea. You want to contrast that idea. You want to set up that idea again, the same thing as you did before, and then you want to contrast that idea and change it up a little bit. Remember, at the end of your first idea here, or your first phrase, is it's a good idea to end on the fifth note of the chord. Oh, well, let me show you. Forgot that we weren't looking there. All right, so don't forget to end on the fifth note of the chord, because that makes you sound like it's going to continue going. And then at the end on the first note of the chord. That's a little tip I have for you. That will make it sound like the idea is now complete. You're ready to move on to an entirely new section of the piece. All right, I really want you to subscribe, students, and the reason behind that is we have new lessons coming out every Friday, every Sunday live, but we also have some lessons coming out peppered in between, so you don't want to miss a beat. So subscribe to the channel right now. So thanks everybody for coming out. This has been Tim from Piano Lessons on the Web. I'll check you out in the next lesson. Thank you so much.